Have you ever been left in silence after a promising connection, wondering what went wrong? Today, let's get real. Being ghosted is almost never about you. It's about where they are, not your worth. Ghosting is a modern epidemic, painful, confusing, and all too common. The lack of closure can send you spiraling, but the story you tell yourself is often far from the truth. In this video, we'll uncover the real reasons people ghost, so you can stop blaming yourself and start healing. By the end, you'll understand why it happens and how to move forward with your self-worth intact. One of the most common reasons people disappear without explanation, what we call ghosting, is a deep-seated fear of confrontation. This fear is surprisingly universal, affecting people from all walks of life. And it often has little to do with the person being ghosted. Instead, it's about the ghoster's own discomfort with difficult emotions and conversations. For many, the thought of sending a message that says, "This isn't working," or "I don't feel the same way," is paralyzing. The anxiety that comes with imagining the other person's reaction, disappointment, anger, or sadness, can be overwhelming. So instead of facing that discomfort, they choose silence, hoping the problem will simply fade away. Disappearing feels easier, safer, and less emotionally taxing than having a direct conversation. It's a way to avoid the awkwardness, the guilt, and the vulnerability that comes with being honest about one's feelings. But while it may feel like self-preservation to them, it leaves the other person confused and hurt. It's important to remember, ghosting is rarely about you being too much, too needy, or too difficult. More often, it's about the other person's inability to handle tough conversations. They might lack the emotional tools or experience to express themselves honestly, especially if they've grown up in environments where conflict was avoided or discouraged. Many people never learned how to communicate openly about their feelings. If someone was raised in a family where disagreements were swept under the rug, or where expressing negative emotions was frowned upon, they may have internalized the belief that avoiding conflict is safer than facing it head-on. Ghosting, then, becomes their escape route, a way to sidestep the discomfort of honesty. But their silence is not a reflection of your worth or desirability. It's simply a sign that they're not equipped to handle the emotional complexity of a real conversation. In a world where digital communication makes it easy to disappear, it's tempting for some to take the path of least resistance. But that doesn't mean it's the right path, or that you deserve to be left without answers. When someone chooses to ghost, they're prioritizing their own comfort over your need for clarity and closure. It's a self-protective move, but it comes at the cost of your peace of mind. If a person can't even face a simple, respectful conversation about their feelings, it's a clear sign they're not ready for the kind of honest, mature relationship you deserve. Their silence is not a judgment of your character, but a confession of their own fear and emotional limitations. It's about their struggle, not your shortcomings. Let their avoidance act as a filter, removing those who aren't ready for honest connection from your life. It's painful, but it also clears space for people who value communication and respect. Remember, the issue was never you. It was always about their inability to communicate and face discomfort. You deserve relationships built on honesty, not avoidance. Another reason for ghosting? Emotional unavailability. It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean? At its core, emotional unavailability is the inability or unwillingness to connect on a deeper, more vulnerable level. It's not always obvious at first. Sometimes it hides behind charm, humor, or even intense early chemistry. But over time, the signs become clear. Some people simply can't form deep, consistent bonds. They're stuck in the past or focused elsewhere. Maybe they're still healing from an old heartbreak, or perhaps they're overwhelmed by personal struggles that leave little room for anyone else. Their attention drifts, and you might feel like you're competing with memories, distractions, or invisible barriers. When real feelings emerge, their walls go up. Vulnerability feels threatening, so they retreat behind emotional defenses, sometimes without even realizing it. You might notice them shutting down during serious conversations, avoiding topics that require openness, or changing the subject when things get too real. Ghosting is their escape hatch. Instead of facing uncomfortable emotions or explaining their distance, they disappear. It's not about you. It's about their inability to handle the intensity of connection or the fear of being truly seen. You could be the perfect partner, but if they're not ready, nothing you do will change that. No amount of patience, love, or reassurance can break through a wall someone isn't willing to lower. It's a hard truth, but it's not a reflection of your worth or effort. Sometimes it's about timing. They're not in a place to invest emotionally. Life can be overwhelming, and for some, relationships become just another source of stress. They might genuinely like you, but their emotional bandwidth is maxed out. Think of it like trying to pour water into a full cup. There's no room for you. Their heart and mind are already occupied, whether by past pain, current anxieties, or future uncertainties. No matter how much you offer, it spills over and goes unnoticed. Their silence is a boundary they can't articulate. Instead of saying, "I'm not ready," or "I can't give you what you need," they let the silence speak for them. It's confusing and hurtful, but it's their way of protecting themselves from vulnerability. It's not a rejection of you, but a revelation about them. Their actions reveal their own limitations, not your shortcomings. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is accept their truth and let go. You deserve someone who's emotionally available, someone who meets you with openness, honesty, and a willingness to grow together. Don't settle for less than a real connection. Their ghosting is a signpost, an unmistakable signal that they're not ready for what you're seeking. It's not the end of your story, but the beginning of a new chapter where you choose yourself and move forward with hope. Sometimes ghosting happens because life gets overwhelming. Stress from work, family, or mental health can shrink someone's world until they have nothing left to give. When someone's in survival mode, even texting back can feel impossible. Their silence isn't about you, it's about their own struggle to stay afloat. They may feel guilty, but explaining feels too hard, so they withdraw. It's not malice, it's exhaustion. You're not being rejected, you're collateral to their crisis. Try to see their disappearance as a symptom of overwhelm, not a reflection of your worth. Their life became too heavy to carry new connections. It's impersonal, but it's real. Sometimes the truth is simple. They lost interest. It can be hard to accept, especially when things seem to be going well at first. Maybe the conversations were exciting, the chemistry felt real, and you started to imagine a future together. But then, something shifted. The energy faded, the texts slowed down, and suddenly, you're left wondering what went wrong. Not every spark turns into a flame, and that's normal. Sometimes people realize they're not as invested as they thought, or life simply pulls them in a different direction. It's a natural part of dating and relationships. Feelings can change, and that's okay. What matters is how we handle those changes. The problem isn't their change of heart, it's their inability to communicate it. Instead of being honest, they might pull away, hoping you'll get the hint. This lack of communication can leave you feeling confused, doubting yourself, and searching for answers that may never come. Ghosting feels easier than saying, "I don't feel a connection." For many, avoiding an uncomfortable conversation seems like the path of least resistance. But in reality, it leaves the other person in the dark, questioning their own worth and replaying every interaction for clues. Remember, this isn't a judgment on your worth. It's about compatibility. Just because someone doesn't see a future with you doesn't mean you're lacking in any way. It simply means you weren't the right fit for each other. And that's something everyone experiences at some point. You can be a perfect puzzle piece, but if you don't fit, you don't fit. No amount of effort or self-doubt can force a connection that isn't meant to be. It's better to accept the mismatch and move forward, rather than trying to force something that doesn't feel right. Their silence is a clumsy way of ending things, but it frees you to find someone who truly matches you. It's an opportunity to focus on yourself, reconnect with your passions, and open yourself up to new possibilities. Every ending creates space for a new beginning. Reframe it. It's not rejection, it's redirection. Life is guiding you towards someone who will appreciate you for who you are and who will be excited to build something real with you. Every closed door is a step closer to the right one opening. Their lack of interest doesn't diminish your value. You are still worthy of love, respect, and genuine connection. Use this time to invest in yourself, surround yourself with supportive people, and remember that your story is far from over. Now you're available for someone who genuinely wants to be with you. Embrace the journey ahead, knowing that the right connection is out there, waiting for you to be ready. Sometimes people ghost because life gets too busy. Work, family, or big commitments can take over, leaving no room for new relationships. They may intend to reconnect, but time slips away and silence grows. It's not an excuse, but it is an explanation. A mature communicator would let you know they're unavailable, but many don't. You weren't a priority, and that's okay in a new connection. Their silence is about their crowded life, not your shortcomings. If you know they were overwhelmed, try to see it through that lens. You deserve someone who makes space for you. Sometimes people ghost because they feel unworthy of you. Their own insecurities convince them you'll leave, so they leave first. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Fear of rejection leads them to reject you. Your confidence or kindness can make them feel like they can't measure up. Instead of rising to the occasion, they retreat into self-doubt. Their disappearance is about their internal struggle, not your value. You might be too much for their fragile self-esteem, not in a bad way, but in a way that scares them. Their silence is a testament to their insecurity. Don't let their fears define your self-worth. Many people ghost simply because they lack communication skills. We aren't taught how to end things kindly or express difficult feelings. For some, avoidance is the only tool they know. They don't have the words, so they choose silence. It's not always malice, it's emotional immaturity. Technology makes it easier than ever to disappear instead of having a real conversation. Their ghosting shows their skill deficit, not your inadequacy. You want a partner fluent in respect and honesty. Their silence proves they're not ready for that. Ghosting is about their fears, not your value. Reclaim your narrative. Ask what you need and deserve, not what you did wrong. Use ghosting as a filter for who's truly ready for you. Let their silence be your closure, and make space for someone who communicates with respect. Healing is a journey, and you're not alone. Share your story below. Your experience could help someone else heal. Thank you for being here and choosing to move forward with confidence.